How's it going, everybody? On this lovely, nice Music is Life 1998. Let's go. Fun facts. 1998. President Bill Clinton was impeached by the House of Representatives due to the Monica Lewinsky scandal. He was later acquitted. Al Qaeda bombed U.S. embassies in Tanzania and Kenya, killing 224 people and injuring over 4,500. The FDA approved Viagra for erectile dysfunction for my fellas. Hey, y'all know what it is. Some of y'all do anyway. Mark McGwire broke the single-season home run record. The internet properties LendingTree, Yahoo Auctions, Yahoo Finance, Yahoo Groups, Yahoo Messenger, Yahoo Movies were all launched. The first MP3 player was released in Japan. The TV sitcom Sex and the City premiered. Many significant films were released that year, including Saving Private Ryan, Armageddon, American History 10, and The Truman Show. And American History 10 was something else. The murder of James Byrd in Jasper, Texas happened. Also, other famous deaths was Sonny Bono, Eldridge Cleaver, famous New York streetball legend Earl Manigault, the wrestler Junkyard Dog, Olympian Florence Griffin Jr., also known as Flojo, Stokely Carmichael, and last but not least, Esther Roll. Alright, so let's get into it, man. The year is 1998. I'm your host, D. As y'all heard, the backdrop was Player Cheers to You. That was a big hit for them boys that year, man. So, you know, we're going to get this thing popping. We're going to start out with R&B. So, I had a hard time narrowing my albums down this week. R&B was loaded. Rap loaded. So, I pretty much had 10 albums. I couldn't even get down to say 5, right? That was real tough. It was tough for me to get down to 5. So y'all let me know what y'all think, man, in the chat. Y'all tell me what y'all think, far as albums that came out in 1998 that y'all was feeling. But let's get it going with R&B. Like I said, I'm gonna go through the 5 I did choose, and then I go through my honorable mention, right? So for 98, the first album I would go with was Dru Hill, Into the Dru, right? That was their second album. And that whole album was fire. I'm not gonna even lie to you. That whole album was fire, right? So I know I got some people who are heavy Dru Hill fans to the core. The songs off Into the Dru that I was really feeling the most was How Deep Is Your Love, Holding You, One Good Reason, Angel, Beauty, and What Are We Going to Do? I know that's a lot of songs because we normally say 1 or 2 songs. But as I said, that whole album was fire. I had to stop because I had too many, right? Album number 2. I'm going 112. Room 112, right? Tough album. Bad Boy doing their thing. Their second album as well. And the songs I was feeling off that the most was probably Be With You, Anywhere, For a While, and Crazy Over You, right? Like I said, you can't say too much about these albums, man. It's because they all classics. Album 3, right? This man has been on the list pretty much every week. You know what I'm saying? So that dude's just that fire. I'm not gonna lie to you. He was just that fire. The real king R&B. We gotta stop denying it. Mr. Robert Kelly coming in at number 3 with the R, the double album. Again, I don't necessarily want to say the whole album was fire because he actually had some songs on there that I think he could have took off. But a lot of people love that album, and I did too. There's a lot of songs I had on there that I liked, but of course I couldn't put everything on her. The songs I like, right? So the songs I got, number 1, When a Woman's Fed Up. Hey, everybody know how that song went. It had a lot of people in their feelings. Had a lot of women talking to fellas crazy. You know what I'm saying? But the song was a slap. Can't deny it. Then I had Ghetto Queen with him and Crucial Conflict. I actually like that joint. I don't know about everybody else, but I really like that joint. I like Crucial Conflict too. So that was dope. Then we had We Ride, which had him featuring Cameron, Noriega, and Jay-Z. Two of my favorite joints on there was the last two songs I had on there, which was Etc. and Dancing with a Rich Man. I love those joints. I love Spanish sounding beats. Had those instruments and that flavor in the background. I just love it. So those are the joints I really love off that album, right? Number 4, I went with the Girls Total, another Bad Boy artist, right? With their Kima, Keisha, and Pam out. Girls can jam. Girls can jam. They always came with solid albums. That was one of the groups that Puff actually had R&B wise that did their thing. Like he normally does his thing with R&B. Like R&B is his mainstay because you know what I'm saying. He had the Totals, the 112s, the Danity Kanes. You know what I'm saying, the Day 26s. He's good with doing R&B, but this Total album, they had Missy writing for him. Missy featured on them. Had Mace on the joints. The songs I was really feeling was Tripping, which featuring Missy, written by Missy. You know, if you want me, the Press Rewind, Sitting Home, and probably my favorite song off that album was Rain. So, album 5. This is the one I went back and forth with the most because me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of this artist. And I don't want to call her overrated because she's definitely good. But I do think she gets a lot more credit than she should. And I wasn't going to use the album because I wasn't a huge fan of the album. It was on a couple songs I liked. But this particular album was big. It won a lot of awards. And it made her have a cult following of one album. If you don't know who I'm talking about, if you don't know the album number 5 is by Lauryn Hill, and the name of the album was The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, right? Again, like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of hers. I just like some stuff she do. Like I wasn't even a huge fan of the Fugees. I know a lot of people, especially my up north people, and a lot of women will say that's blasphemous. Well, I'm just being honest, y'all. I'm just being honest. It wasn't for me. There's a lot of albums I would go with before that, and a lot of albums that I actually want to hear more. The joints I was feeling, I did like was Doo Wop, That Thing, and my favorite song off this album that I did like was Nothing Even Matters with her and D'Angelo. To me, that was the best song on that album, right? And then the other song that I did like was Everything Is Everything. But I think it's maybe like one or two more I did like off that album. But for the most part, like I said, I wasn't a fan. But it was a quality album. It was a very good album. Just wasn't for me because, like I said, I wasn't a fan of hers. So I had quite a few honorable mentions, right? Which is why I said I was torn with put Lauryn Hill number 5. My first honorable mention I'm gonna say is Brandy's album, The Never Say Never, right? That album was real nice. Like I got hold to it late. I really only heard the singles, I should say. Those pretty much the songs I was hearing. But as I was doing my research for the week and going through my albums, I actually was just going back through it, and I remember, like, man, I remember these songs. I remember these, and I remember the album. And I was like, the album's straight. It's real good. So Brandy's Never Say Never was my first honorable mention. And the joints I really liked after my favorite song off the album was Angel in Disguise. And then you had Almost Doesn't Count. It's Sitting on Top of the World, which was featuring Mace. And then to round it out that I really liked was Have You Ever, right? Again, dope album. My next honorable mention, Faith Evans will Keep the Faith. I'm a Faith fan. I'm a Faith fan. I like Faith, but Keep the Faith, it wasn't as good as her first album, I should say. It was more of an upbeat. It felt more upbeat, I should say, more sped up. The BPM on a lot of the joints was faster or whatever to give her a dance hall, not dance hall, but a dance record. So the songs I like was Never Knew a Love Like This, which like I said was upbeat, was like a skating rink type of vibe. Same thing with Dance All Night, which was featuring Puff. They was good for people who like to skate back in the days or whatever, get out in the roller rinks and do your thing. So it's those two, and then the title track, Keep the Faith. I really like those joints. But I mentioned number 3 was the debut album of Mr. Tyrese. And the title of the album was Tyrese as well. Solid album. I wasn't a huge Tyrese fan. Like some people, I just like certain things. But you can't deny the boy had talent and the boy had skills. So the songs I really liked off this album was Nobody Else, the hit Sweet Lady, the hit and remake Lately, and I Can't Go On. Tough songs. And I'm going to wrap my honorable mention up, but I'm going to end up the last honorable mention R&B album was my background music, Player with Cheers to You. Right? I think that was a very slept on album. Extremely slept on. They had joints on that album. Of course, Timbaland did the production, so the beats was crazy as ever. The two joints I was really feeling the most off this album was, of course, Cheers to You and All the Way. And All the Way was probably my favorite song off that album. So that's my wrap up with R&B for 1998. So with that being said, we're going to go hip hop. Like I said, hard for me to narrow this down to just 5. This was even harder than my R&B was to me. Everybody know I'm a Southern boy, but I bounce around with my music choices. So some of these albums were just personal things I like to listen to, but it is what it is. So I got my 5 that I did chose, and then I got 5 honorable mentions. So I got a double list for my hip hop this week. 10 albums. Oh, album number 1. Of course, I had to go with in my opinion, one of the classics, probably their best album and the greatest rap group of all time, in my opinion. Outkast with the Aquemini album. Heat from top to bottom. Top to bottom heat. They went, of course, like with every project, go into a whole different atmosphere, different lanes, start looking at different things to do. So the first song that I did like was actually start the album off, Return of the G. It was just something about that beat and the way Andre was riding on it with his talk flow. He wasn't even really just rap, he was just more so talking to you, but it was dope. After that was Skewered on the Barbie, featuring Wu General, Raekwon. Dope track. And then my next song I was feeling, probably my favorite song off the album, The Art of Storytelling Part 1, featuring Slick Rick. Part 2 was dope also, which is right behind it. But Part 1, everything about it was the beat, the things they were saying. And then the last song, Spodioty Dopalicious. It featured tons of people. It's like a 6-7 minute song, just straight instrumentation. Organized Noise went in and did their thing when they did the album. The live horns, the live drums. Classic song. Classic. Hey, man. Andre, I think he was already set himself apart as one of the best lyricists in the game. But I think, to me, this album is where he showed that he was really a top 5 to 10 artist of all time, or rapper of all time to me, lyrically. And so that's our top album of the year for 1998 to me, hip hop. Album number 2, Jay-Z, Hard Knock Life, Volume 2. It's the album that really just blew him up. He was already known on the East Coast or whatever, but this is the one who made him a star. So he had Hard Knock Life was the first, I think it was the first single, but that's the one that blew up. It took him a while, but it blew up with this Annie sample. The songs I was really feeling, of course, was Money Cash Hoes with my guy DMX, another one of my favorites of all times. The Coming of Age, the sequel, featuring Memphis Bleek. Better than the original, in my opinion. Another song I was really feeling on the album was also featuring Bleek. It's Alright. Album 3 for 1998 hip hop. DMX. His debut album is Dark and Hell is Hot. That album is just, man, it was something else. I will argue that was probably the greatest debut, the best debut of any art rapper. Right? You had Get At Me Dog on there, which was, the video was like something I never seen before then, right? Of course, it was Live at the Tunnel. Had Sheek Louch, originally had the whole locks on it, but Sheek was on it, on the hook. You had Look Through My Eyes, which is one of the joints I was really feeling off that album. You had Let Me Fly, Stop Being Greedy, Damien. Again, like I say, in my opinion, the greatest debut. I know some people think Snoop had the best one. Some people say 50. I'm always put DMX up there and think his can hold with anybody as far as debut albums. So that was number 3. Number 4, right? When number 4 dropped, I was against the album at first. And my boy in the chat, some of my boys in the chat, gonna think it's blasphemous, right? I didn't like it because I remembered, well, I didn't like the single which laid that album off, because in my opinion, he wasn't rapping. I remember him from being a bounce artist, and I actually remember him rapping. His single, he was just talking to everybody. So for those who don't know, album number 4, Juve, 400 Degrees. Follow Me was one of the joints I really loved. My joint UPT, Cash Money Slanging Iron, nigga. All top, HB's Lil BG. So that was another joint on there. Another joint I really liked off that joint was Rich Niggas. That was my shit. Man, Juve had the streets hot. My boy say he had the city of New Orleans going crazy with that album. But album number 5 for the week, I was torn. I didn't know what to go with, but my 5th album is the one I ended up choosing, was Busta Rhymes, Extension Label Event, right? I'm a Bust fan. I'm a Busta fan. To me, it's not gonna be many times where he's gonna be in the album of the year, because it just so happens that every year he dropped, there was always somebody who had big albums too. Bust just had bad timing with his album drops. but I had to get him in this go round. The joints I was feeling off this album was Tear the Roof Off, Give Me Some More, and the smash, What's It Gonna Be, featuring Miss Janet Jackson. Honorable mention number 1. I'm going with Big Pun, Capital Punishment. The songs I was really feeling off this album as I was going through and listening to it was Beware. I've always liked Still Not a Player featuring Joe. And the other joint was Twins, Deep Cover 9/8. Right. Those were the 3 joints off that album that stood out the most to me. I know a lot of people like Dream Shatterer, which was dope. It just didn't hit the top for me like that. Like, to me, I didn't like how his lyrics and beats didn't necessarily match up to me. But dope album. The next honorable mention was Good Die Mostly Over Bullshit. My boy's Good M.O.B. Right? But the Still Standing album. This album almost made the top 5. The joints I was really feeling off this one was Black Ice, Fly Away, They Don't Dance No More, and Ghettoology. Number 3 of honorable mentions. Young Bleed, My Balls and My Word. Right? The joints off there was The Day They Made Me Boss, How You Do That with Master P, and CeeLo, and what I say, Better Than the Last Time with him, Max Manelli, and Javon. Next album was one by my boy Tila. You know what I'm saying? A Memphis, Tennessee Titan with Now or Never. His first album after leaving Suave House and going to Rap-A-Lot. You know what I'm saying? He had Break 'Em Out off that joint. He had Big Pimp's Eye. We had Too Short on it. And then he had the classic Table Dance. So you had other honorable mentions, like you say, you had Master P drop that year. You had C Murder drop his first album that year. Oh man, you had Mystical drop that year. You had Snoop drop that year. You had Silk drop that year. But the last honorable mention I'm going with is Fiend. There's one in every family. The joints I was really feeling off that was Who Got That Fire with him and Snoop. I swore at All I Know. And the last song that I was really feeling off that joint that I'm gonna say was Slangin' with him and UGK. Anytime UGK got with No Limit, for the most part, it was always a classic. They rarely ever missed when they got together. So those are my joints for the year of 1998. I appreciate for everybody who came on, got in the comments. I appreciate y'all for rocking out with me tonight, man. This is Music is Life 1998. I'm your boy D, and we out of here. Peace.